This is the No Prisoners podcast. We're Bucks County's #1 investigative journalists. We're here today with the owner of 86 West. But before we introduce him, we have an event on the 25th of October, our happy hour, the last Wednesday of the month. This month, we are raising money for Alpha Bravo Canine, a local charity that trains and certifies service dogs for disabled military veterans. I'm very close with this organization. It's run entirely by a volunteer staff, so all of the money goes directly towards the dogs and then benefits our veterans that are in need. We can always help the veteran community out more. We don't do enough for them as it is. It costs about $25,000 per dog to train, feed, vaccines, and get it ready to donate to the veterans. So we need to raise quite a bit of currency. This event on the 25th is a costume party in celebration of our favorite Halloween or holiday, Halloween. It's $40 without a costume, $20 if you're wearing a costume. Get your costumes ready. We'll see you on the 25th at 86 West, the best restaurant in all of Bucks County, possibly the world.
Whoa.
Right?
Yes.
That's not an overstatement. Gilmar and I eat here quite frequently. This restaurant has everything you need, multiple bars inside and outside, event space, sushi, Kobe burgers. The menu here is quite diverse, but everything on it is quite spectacular. This business.
That's good.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds
right.
good. Yeah, would you eat here?
Oh, my goodness, yes. But all those dog lovers out there, I mean, they should come, Freddie.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people that love dogs. I mean, attached completely.
Yeah, the outside is open to the canines. If your furry friend is friendly and ready to be out in public, bring them by, sit outside, enjoy a nice date night with your significant other, bring your kids. This place has an excellent family atmosphere, great for watching Phillies games. Red October, baby, let's go.
Let's go, baby.
We got the Eagles season, 5-0, undefeated, let's go, 6-0. Possibly by this episode comes out. This restaurant is my favorite place to eat. I'm not kidding. It's been quite a privilege to make friends with the owner here tonight, as well as all of the staff. It makes it hard to leave Doylestown with such good accommodations here locally.
You did it. I mean, you beat the interview with Lonnie on that.
Yeah, I beat the brakes off of it.
There you go.
Without further ado, Tom Frank, we hope you enjoy this episode. So without further ado, we've already been talking for what seems like a good bit of time here. We're already really connected to this man. This is Tom Frank, the owner of 86 West, with us here tonight. Really excited for this podcast. I wanted to have you on for a long time, but I wanted to make sure that we were set up here and could do a good show, and we worked out all the kinks with recording in the new location. So I appreciate you letting us record here and throw our events and everything and supporting us. So thank you off the start, and we're happy to have you.
We're happy to have you. Thank you. Appreciate your coming.
Yeah. So what I want to get into first is when did you open 86 West, and was that the first restaurant that you had?
We've been open here about 18 years.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot longer than I thought.
Yeah, we started here, and then we expanded to the outside bar and developed that. And then we decided, okay, so the outdoor bar closes as soon as it gets cold. 86 has a small inside bar. It was a night house then.
And that was the building next door.
No, that's this building.
We're in the building that was originally 86 West.
It was originally the night house.
It was the night house.
And then we changed it to, when we opened 86 West, we tried to do an upscale thing here and called it State Street.
Mm.
And I love the sign. That's the reason I haven't taken it down yet.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous.
Okay.
And then we developed next door. And we operated two separate restaurants for a period of about a year. We found out people don't want high-end in Doylestown as much as they want just fun food. And so we transitioned both menus. We took the best of State Street and the best of 86, merged the two menus, And it was a big success. We had the nice steaks, we had the comfort food, and it was nice. It was a nice merger. So we've been here for 17 years. We've had the outdoor bar for about 15 years, and we've developed a site next door. The guy that owned the site next door had some tenants in there that I didn't like.
Okay.
They made a lot of noise, and there were young kids going in and hanging out. We'd have 50 kids out front of our restaurant on a Friday night where everybody's trying to come and have dinner, right?
Yeah.
Didn't go over well. So I said, you know what? I need to buy that building. I found out the guy that owned that building also owned the building where the Starbucks is.
Oh, no way.
So I said, listen, can we do a trade? I'll give you this building if you give me. I own the Starbucks building.
Okay.
I said, listen, I'll give you the Starbucks building, which was a big,
that's a piece of property.
that's
right?
nice property.
Yeah.
and we'll trade the two pieces of property. You can pay me some money on the side for the difference.
Yeah.
And he surprised me. He said he'd do it. So
Surprise you. That's an amazing deal.
Yeah, that's insane.
Well, it's an amazing deal for him.
Yeah.
But the synergy between the two properties here, that property next door was worth a lot more money to me than anybody else because I had this.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about synergy all the time. What happens when you put two things together, and is there any benefit that isn't present without the merger? And yeah, it was a completely different property at that point.
Well, it was instead of 2 + 2 = 4, it was like 2 + 2 = 5 at that point.
It might have been 6.
Oh.
Could have been 6.
Wow. Yeah, because I always thought, I didn't realize that this was the first restaurant here and that was the second one. I always thought that one came first and then this one was the second one.
Yeah, it can make that. I understand how you make that mistake because
You're going to make a liar out of me because I've told a lot of people that.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
So, but it was fun putting them together. And in terms of the second part of your question, so what did I do before then? Was this my first venture? No, I started out working at McDonald's when I was 16 years old.
Okay.
And the funny thing about that is that most people say, "Oh, McDonald's, well, who the hell wants to work at McDonald's, right?" I'm telling you, it was the best thing ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Before I worked at McDonald's, I had no concept of business. I had no concept of service. It teaches so much. And so I worked at McDonald's for 50 years.
Whoa.
50. I didn't say 5.
Yeah.
I said 50 years. So I started out in high school working at McDonald's. Later I became an executive, worked the corporate headquarters. Traveled all over the world, which was a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was really a fantastic job.
Here, let me move your microphone a little closer to you.
And so after I worked for McDonald's Corporation, I became a McDonald's franchisee.
Okay.
I bought my first store in Upper Gwinnett, across from North Penn High School.
And what year was that in?
That was in 1988. 1988. Now, I know that's a long time. And by the way, the question I had, I'm trying to butter you guys up. Tough questions, right?
Yeah.
So, thanks, Mara.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mara.
it.
Thank you.
That's Rambo.
Mara,
Say
do
hi.
me a favor, just because I don't want to spill. Thank you. I'll wait for you. So in 88, I bought my first McDonald's, and I expanded fast.
So how many years, you, at 16 years old, you started working there. How many years did you work at McDonald's until you bought your first franchise? Was that the 50?
20 some years.
20 some years.
That's part of my 50.
Okay.
I'm not 100 yet.
No.
So I started working there at 17. I worked there for probably 20 years or so before I bought my first franchise.
Okay.
And then I spent the next 30 years as a McDonald's franchisee. And now that, and this is interesting because, what percentage of people that were started a company end up owning part of the company?
I mean,
it's a cool thing.
There's one other guy that I can think of, and he owns a box company. They make like corrugated boxing for, shipping goods, and he previously owned a trash company. And when I was working on his house when I was much younger, and I was like, how did you get involved into this business? And he told me like his kind of little bit of his story. And he literally got a job. Like, he was preparing to buy the trash company, and he got a job on the back of the trash trucks, and he rode on the back of the truck. Like, he did all the jobs in the company before he bought the company, so that he could really know if it was a good deal or not.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I ever heard anybody. I was like, that is an elite level of operator.
Yeah, that's a smart thing.
Yeah.
That's a smart thing. You know, as a matter of fact, McDonald's requires you, and I don't want to think this is the McDonald's show because
Yeah, they get enough.
I'm sure you see McDonald's all the time, but it's a different place. I would say back in the days when I was growing up, it was a great place to work. And I learned so much. I have to say that all that I've become in my life is principally because of my work at McDonald's.
Oh, wow.
Every good thing I learned, everything good that in my life was McDonald's. And it afforded me the opportunity to do this. McDonald's didn't like it, but I did it anyway. Yeah, they want you to be 100% solely 100% a McDonald's franchisee. But I started getting involved in the real estate business. I started getting involved in McDonald's. I bought a hotel. I bought this location. I bought the location next door. So really, McDonald's was my big opportunity. I started at 95 cents an hour. I know that sounds foreign to you.
Woo!
Yeah, that's right. And I want to say that you have a lot of young studs, a lot of young people on here tatted up. I don't feel really worthy because I don't feel hip enough.
We can get it done.
You
We
know?
can get you.
I know
We
that.
can
I
get
know
you.
that.
set
We know, guys.
We're connected. We actually got tattooed. Gilmar and I have matching tattoos that happened on a podcast.
Does it mean anything?
We got tattooed on our ankles. Good people.
Really?
Just because like we were having a moment, and we
Why
were
did
just
you
like,
pick that?
just because we like.
Feeling good?
Well, we were just trying to, I was starting to become, I was starting to taste success, I guess. And I was having a lot of different struggles, and I realized I was like, I'm going to make a conscious effort now to just be good. Like I've seen both sides of the spectrum. I see what works and doesn't work on both sides. Being a bad guy definitely works for some people. And I just realized that, like, dude, we're good people. Like, that's who we are. We need to lean into that.
We talked about that before we started filming this. And, there's a good you and a bad you. And we all have that.
Yeah.
And I certainly have seen the good and the bad of me. And I've made so many efforts to change over my lifetime to become good.
Yeah.
To become easy to talk to become a good friend, to become a brother, to become a better father. Everything kind of is a circle. Everything's tightly connected. And in terms of your tasting success, I want to tell you that when I went from 95 cents an hour to $1.05 an hour too later, that's success.
Yeah.
I felt success. Now, isn't that crazy?
No, I don't.
10 cents an hour.
I mean, 10 cents an hour.
I mean, it's nothing. And I was making $1.05. When I got married, I made $1.95 an hour.
How old were you when you got married?
I met my childhood sweetheart in high school, and she was 15 when I met her, and I was 17. And we got married when she graduated. She was 17, and I was 19.
Oh, wow. Married really young.
Yeah. That's how you did it back in the olden days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. The last century.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. So what kind of was the original catalyst, or what opened you up and kind of, maybe broke you down to becoming, the more relaxed version of you? I realize it probably happened over a long period of time, but I know for me in particular, it was like one or two things that kind of were just like, this isn't going to work this way. You need to go a different direction.
There's a lot of rejection involved.
Yeah.
In being a tough guy. It doesn't work.
It really doesn't.
And my advice to anybody who's trying to be tough, forget about it. Don't do it. It doesn't work.
Forget about it.
Forget about it.
It doesn't work. Am I right?
Yeah, you're right.
You were never tough, were you?
No.
No,
That's not who I am.
That's not your way.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
were tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just not the right way to go. As you become educated and more in touch with yourself, you realize that one of my favorite quotes is like water conforms to its surface, as does the skillful strategist. I collect quotes.
Nice.
I memorize them by verbatim.
Yeah, your fight name would be Fortune Cookie.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Don't bite me. So, and it's true. You need to conform to people, I always thought people had to conform to me.
Yeah,
It's wrong.
I
It's wrong.
definitely.
It doesn't work.
I started my business. My first business I started very young, and I looked at leadership. I've talked about this before on the show, but I looked at leadership as, I worked very hard, and I kind of expected everyone to just fall in line behind me, or just, work that hard too, or just, just kind of know what needed to be done and everything. And over the course of just like failing forward, I realized that leadership was more, supporting people to be the best version of themselves, or kind of identifying in people what their gifts were and just letting them do that. Like with Gilmar, when he started working with me, I knew enough about what he did to talk to him, but I didn't know. I knew he knew more than me, so it was very important for me to just be, open to be, I would say, how I wanted it done. But he knew he could be like, well, I think it should go like this, and here's why. And I would be like, you know what? You're here for that. Like, you do you. Like, you do what you're good at, and I'm gonna trust in that.
Yeah, I think that I collect quotes, and I kind of over my lifetime, and since I guess maybe this started at about the age 20, and I'm a little older than that now.
Yeah, just a few
I'm your
years.
oldest interview, by the way.
You are.
I went through the whole thing. I looked at all the interviews. There's nothing. There's nobody in this whole computer you got
No, I'm
that's
gonna.
even fractionally almost the same age as me.
I think we should get you a
An award.
plaque or a belt or
Yeah.
some sort of like trophy to indicate you're the champ.
Yeah, so I started collecting quotes in my 20s.
Okay.
And so, of course, I read so many fascinating quotes that I knew I couldn't remember them, so I started to write everything down, right? Writing things down is powerful. What gets written down gets done is one of my favorite quotes.
Okay.
So I started writing them down, and over time I thought, wow, these are just so powerful. And I had so little time, I was anxious about it because I thought, geez, I got to get busy here. These things are telling me to be a different person than I am. These quotes are telling me and trying to lead me a different direction.
Yeah.
So I thought, you know what, I've got to write these things down. And then I came up with the idea of just like a building has a foundation, a life has to have a foundation. And foundationally, there was no better quote than, how can you get a better quote than a better foundation than much is expected from much is expected from whom much is given. Think the right thoughts to be the right you. Change your thoughts and change your world. Collectively, these things, we were talking about synergy before. Collectively, these things really do spell a whole different direction. So as I got older, I started to think, you know what, there's something more here. There's something more than just a quote or two or three. It's a way of life. So I started collecting quotes, and now I'm up to about 107.
Do you have like a notebook or something?
Do. I have them right on my phone.
Oh.
And every time I come up with a new one, although they're harder and harder to find because I set the benchmark pretty high. I just don't let any quote in there.
Yeah. Do you
it's
ever delete quotes?
I do.
Yeah.
I do when I find a better one.
Okay.
On the same subject.
Okay.
But you're talking about leadership. Leadership is the art of getting the people you are around, the people that you love, the people that you work with, to run after the goals they've envisioned but have no plans to implement. So, and you have to memorize these things verbatim, otherwise they lose their meaning. They don't translate right. So this is a fascinating life. And change, yeah, I got to change. I still have to change. There's lots to change. There's style issues. There's all kinds of things. I still become angry sometimes. Anger is the sign of a troubled mind. Remember that the next time you get mad, because it does really preclude you from being angry. So I got a troubled mind? I don't think so. So I better clean it up a little bit, right?
It's interesting you say that because I was so angry for so long that, I mean, it was from childhood that I just didn't even realize that was who I was.
Yeah.
It just was just what I knew. And it wasn't until, I mean, my brother kind of helped me a lot to get out of that. Gilmar, definitely, my wife especially. It was just one time, I think we were out, and my wife was like, you know, you're a really good person. and that's okay. And I looked at her and I go, here you go, Gilmore. Cheers, buddy.
Oh, thanks. You get one too.
Thank you.
We were out in the city or somewhere, and she's like, you're a really good person. Like, just be that. And I looked at her, which is kind of, I didn't really know what to say to that because I was just so used to just not being, like, I had the capacity, but I was always defensive. I was always had my guard up, and I was always so shielded that it caused a lot more complications in my. It wasn't a lubricant for my life. It was definitely more abrasive than it slowed me down.
We talked about that before we got started, and all of these things unfortunately run deep in your life, and it all goes back to your early childhood and those formative years where you learned the wrong things.
Yeah, and stuff you don't even remember.
Subliminally.
Yeah.
You were taught a certain way to be. And, when I was this is a true story. When I was about 12 years old, my sister said to me, she asked me a question. I don't remember exactly what the question was, but she asked me a question and I answered her. She said, you don't feel that way. That's the way your mother and father feel. A light bulb went off, and I knew then I had to change completely. Everything I had learned was wrong. And I knew, and once again, that's where that anxiousness in me took over, because everything I knew was wrong, and I thought immediately, I got to change this. I can't stop. What am I going to do next? Because I want so much to change into the right person, the right kind of person that has, that can be the person that someone comes to for advice or counsel, or can be the one that helps someone when they're in need. And I thought to myself, I'm not that, and I'm still not that. I'm still not all that.
Yeah,
I still got a long way to go.
But you're striving towards that.
It's a big subject for me.
But
it's the way I want to live.
When did this start
Cheers.
for you? Cheers. Thank you so
To
much.
a good life and a friendship and health.
And health.
At my age, you got to worry about that.
I mean, I didn't believe how old you were, but
You mean you thought I was older than 49?
got him.
Dang.
Give me a shock.
That was a good one.
Oh, be easy with the pink button.
Don't spill that beer over
My hands
there.
are
Come
too
on,
big.
he's not over there.
When did you? Was it business? Was it a relationship? What caused you to kind of just? Was there one roadblock that you can think back to say, hey, this Tom isn't working for me?
Yeah, I've had a lot of those moments, and they're reoccurring.
Okay.
Because they reoccur, and it brings you back, it snaps you back into reality. When I was young and first married my ex-wife, who is still my best friend,
Oh, no way.
she said to me, your problem? I said, well, I know I got a lot of problems, but which one are you talking about? She said, you think, and this is almost verbatim what you said, you think everybody thinks just like you.
Okay.
And they don't.
Yeah. I used to think that.
And you know what?
It sounds so dumb now that I look back
It
on
does.
it.
But the reason why we feel this way is because we put so much of ourselves into something. And we just fucking don't understand why other people don't see it the same way and, come forward enough with enough energy to change things and to do it the way it should be done, right?
Yeah.
The way we think it should be done.
Yeah.
And that's the way she pointed it out. She said, you think you're right, and you think everybody thinks the way you do, and they don't.
Yeah.
So that was a big moment. And
But how old were you when that conversation happened?
I was probably 25 or 26.
Yeah. I think I was about 27 when that happened for me.
I was a year ahead of you.
Yeah. You're advanced.
I would say.
You're gifted is
Yes,
what they say.
that's what I'm telling you.
And I don't know if it was, it definitely, it wouldn't have just happened. Like, it was definitely an active pursuit, but looking back on it, it kind of felt like I was leaving childhood behind in a way. Like, I was kind of maturing in a certain way that allowed me to open up to it. It doesn't seem like it was all that, because I see people that matured through that stage that are still rooted in the old version of themselves.
Yeah.
But I think that period of your life, you're just very much like, that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah, I was accused of never having the childhood, going straight from, 12 to 20 or 30 because I was too serious. My mother used to say to me, "You'll never be anything." She could be very intolerant and very harsh. And that's putting it kindly. And I was so afraid she'd be right that it compelled me to do things that ordinarily young people won't do.
Yeah, I feel that.
And I think that they say that if it doesn't kill you, how does that go?
If it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger.
It makes you strong. Anything that doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I think that even though that was a harsh way to look at things, it created stimulus on my part to get busy.
Yeah, I heard a quote today. I was listening to a podcast between two successful gentlemen, and the one thing that really stood out to me that I was like, wow, that's so true, was the gentleman, Alex Hermosi. He's a very successful guy, wrote a few books, and he said the best time in a man's life is when he realizes no one's coming to save him. Like, there is no salvation. And he said what happens is the day that happens, a boy becomes a man, and then he takes on his life. And like, when you realize that it's all up to you, nobody's coming to save you, you have to do it. It sounds dramatic, or it sounds like, oh, that sucks. But in reality, it makes you realize that nobody's coming to save you. It's up to you, and it gives you all the power it takes. Because if you're blaming, your parents, or you're blaming the government for your situation, or you're blaming whatever the circumstances for your situation, you're giving that element all of your power. So you take that back by saying, you know what? This is my fault. This is my doing. I can fix this. This is what I'm going to do. And I listened to that, and I was like, damn, I didn't realize that's what happened to me. But the second I realized, I was like, look, like, nobody's coming to do this for me. I need to do this work. It was empowering.
I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
I think that it's the same thing she did, kind of, and I don't know if it was just, I don't think it was intended to be stimulating.
No.
I think it was really a harsh statement. But the unintended byproduct of one hearing something that they really don't want to hear is it creates energy, and it causes you to move in a way that you probably wouldn't have if you hadn't heard it.
Yeah, of course.
And if you don't know, yes, it's true. Most of us are going to be reliant on what we do tomorrow to survive. And it's true up until the last day of your life. You have to create your own relationships with people. You have to create relationships with your business. You have to have a good relationship with your wife. You have to do it all in order to win. And I think all of us want to live at a high level of achievement, but it's tough sometimes to get your energy up enough to go do it, because it does require you do a certain level of performance. Otherwise, you're not going to get where you want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like as of recently I've been going through that, realizing no one's there to save me. I think it started to happen back when you and your business partner were splitting up. It was a time where my girlfriend was telling me she's wanted to go to school full time. So then I was like, oh, I'm about to be out of a job. I need to find something. I need to do something. And I think that's kind of when I started to realize it's up to me to make these moves, to change things, to provide for me and for her, and to, be a man. So, and then now with my own business and now everything, relies on me. I set my own relationships with people, my own boundaries and all that. I think I'm starting to see now it's all coming full circle where I'm kind of hitting that stride, or, becoming that much more of a man. And it's just, I don't know.
I full-heartedly agree with that. I always saw what you're doing right now. I always saw that for you. And when we first met, like, you were trying to work out, but you didn't really want to, or you thought you were working hard, but like now how hard you're working, you could probably look back on that. And that's like the same for me too. You look back and you're like, I wasn't working hard then.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen you grown so much in the last 2 years that this last challenge for you to go out and start your own business like watching you step up to that responsibility, I knew you knew it was going to be work, but I was like, all right, we're going to see now. Like, how does he do with this? And your first like week or so, you were like, shit. Like, this isn't what I signed up for. I signed up for, the rock star lifestyle. And I'm like, dude, I tried to tell you it's great life, but it's not the glamorous life that everyone is sold on social media to be an entrepreneur, to own a business. It's a responsibility. It isn't this glamour show that everyone tries to make it out to be.
Yeah. It's definitely hard work. And, great things don't come easy. So that's also another thing I've been telling myself.
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. And I think that your comment you're making about every young man or woman goes through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Before you can achieve really high levels, you have to achieve low levels.
Mm-hmm.
And your success is progressive. And that, I think the first big opportunity I had was at McDonald's at 95 cents an hour. And I tell people this constantly, and they laugh at me because people don't think of that being a stepping stone. And it was a huge stepping stone. It allowed me to see a view of the future that I couldn't see had I not been there. So I don't think you can diminish what you're doing now. Some people, and the people that watch this might think, well, I can't really achieve this. Well, you got to start out achieving this first.
Yeah.
And then it becomes easier. And it's amazing how you as a man or you as a person change by virtue of the fact you have success under your belt. Because you couldn't feel good about who you were until you reach some level of success. And I'm not just talking about financial success. I'm talking about, being a good father or being a good son or being a good neighbor. You can't really feel good about yourself unless you're achieving something. And the more you excel and progress in that journey, the more and the better you can feel, and the more willing you'd be to pass it on to others and have them feel it, right?
Yeah.
So I do think what you're saying is so true. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
Thanks.
getting those wins under your belt incrementally. I used to think that, I would get, buy a project or, a property or, get a construction contract or different things that I would be like, this is going to be the thing that blows it up. And over time, I realized it's not like that at all. It's incremental wins, like very small pebbles that you just kind of like start making a pile of rocks. And then someday you look back and you're like, wow, I got a big pile of rocks. I used to think that you just get a pile of rocks. And it's not like that at all. And I look and we've talked to a few young gentlemen that are very hungry for success, and I've tried to impart that wisdom. Like it was tried to impart it on me. Like there was definitely people that I met that tried to say like, hey, you're real hungry, you're an old soul, you're a hard worker, you're all these things, but it's these incremental wins that are going to get you places. And I was always like, nah, you don't know what you're talking about.
We want a pill.
Yeah.
Take the pill, and tomorrow it all happens.
Yeah, I'm just going to work really hard, and I'm going to have $1 billion by 30.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
And then when I was at 30 and I didn't have $100 million in the bank, I was like, I suck. And it's not the case.
And I think this is a real problem today for people, young people especially, that aren't. I hate to say it, but it doesn't seem to me that our economy in the United States is deep enough to give every person an opportunity like I had in 1967.
It is a different time.
And I wish it could give someone that hope. But I think a lot of people look at it and they say, I can't do that. Well, you're always moving towards your most dominant thought. And if you're thinking you can't do it, you're pretty much going to end up there.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I think it's probably not. It's a different time. We'll agree there.
Yes.
But for instance, my barber is from Guatemala, and I tried to get him on the podcast, and he was like, "Oh no, when I do something big enough, I'll come on the podcast." And I stopped him, and I said, "Dude." Like he just before that conversation, he told me how he moved to America when he was like 15, spoke no English, was working for like a landscape or irrigation company, and he went into a sneaker shop to buy a pair of shoes, and he had this very attractive young lady come over and try and sell him the sneakers, but he couldn't speak to her, right? So he enrolled himself in high school.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
he graduated high school, and now he owns he's a very successful businessman in the sense that, like, he still has leaps to go, but he owns a successful barber shop. He's doing things that people that were born in this country speaking English aren't capable of. So I had to stop him and be like, what do you mean? You've done more in the last 15 years than most people will do in their entire lifetime. So I think the success and the opportunities are still here in America, for those people willing to fight for it.
I agree. The hurdle levels are higher, though, I think.
Yeah.
I think I was a dumb guy in 1966 and 67, right?
Okay.
How the hell did it produce this? How the hell did it produce a guy that could win at a level that I've been able to win, and I feel proud of it. But I realize I got lucky.
You think so?
I think...
Or were you just too dumb to give up?
Well, that's an
That's a
interesting
huge-
comment.
that's a
an
huge part.
interesting comment. It's not that I'm so smart. It's just that I refused. I just said I asked the same question over and over again.
Yeah, I told that to Gilmar one time.
Yeah.
We were dealing with, a couple different individuals we're doing business with, or like through the podcast and things. And I said to you, I forget who we were talking about, but I was like, dude, you can be dumb and be way more successful than someone smart purely because
Tenacity.
you're so focused on just
Yeah.
what's in front of you that you don't get caught up in the bullshit. And then
Right.
next thing you know, you're like, how's that guy how did he make it?
Yeah.
And I realized over time it really has to do with just not giving up and showing up every day.
Yeah. I'm in the process of writing a book. No one knows this, but I'll share this
Nobody
with you.
listens to this show,
Yeah,
so
nobody
nobody's
listens.
going to.
I'll share this with you. And it's all about the quotes and axioms that I've come across in my lifetime. And most of them have to do with what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Digging deeper, working harder, being tenacious, going after things, being redundant, attacking things. Einstein says, I think about it once, it eludes me. I think about it twice, I still don't get it. The 1,000th time it is mine.
Mm.
And so is life. That's the way life needs to be. That's what we all need to do. We have to be tenacious. We have to keep doing it the 1,000th time. And most people give up at time 10.
Yeah, I definitely, there's been times where I've wanted to give up, but I would say my biggest obstacle, especially when I was younger, was overthinking things. And that's why I appreciated when I was telling Gilmar, I was like, dude, you can be dumb and be way more successful, because I saw people that maybe intellectually I was smarter than, but they were doing great things because they weren't getting distracted or the mental setbacks. Like, I was putting that stuff on myself. It didn't actually exist. I was just, why isn't this work? And just like obsessing over things that just didn't even matter if I had just kept grinding and focused on just showing up every day. That was more important than being smart.
Ray Kroc wrote a book. Ray Kroc's the founder of McDonald's. And he wrote a book called Grinding It Out.
All right. Grinding
There's
it
a
out.
real lesson in the title.
Mm.
And, people have to grind it out. And a lot of people give up on themselves early. I was lucky when I was young. I had a young wife that encouraged me and, really thought I couldn't do any wrong. She said, you can do anything you want to do.
Mm.
In life, it's important to have some mentorship and sponsorship and someone in your life that'll say, yeah, go get them. You got it. And I really do think it's our responsibility to be that person to some people too. So it helps to have someone in your corner.
Yeah. I really enjoy being in the corner for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not what, the selfish thing about this is it's not what they get from it. It's what you get from it.
Yeah.
You become a different person, and you can therefore be capable of helping more people. And while you're helping someone, you're helping yourself. The unintended byproduct is you become a better mentor, a better person.
I feel more successful as a business person when I'm helping other people with their business. And I don't necessarily always understand why, but it just kind of it helps get me excited about what I'm doing when I can, see somebody else winning like that.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, I just help, for instance, Gilmar, getting him fired up. I get off the phone with firing a rocket up his ass. He's feeling down. I give him the marching orders, and then I get out of the truck and I'm like, I was going to, go grab a coffee and relax for a little bit, but I'm probably going to go work real hard right now. I'm just like, because when I'm like motivating other people to get fired up about what they're passionate about, you can't help but rub off on you.
That's true.
Was there ever a point in time, in McDonald's or like that, or any of these times that you thought about quitting and doing
Sure.
something else?
Yeah, I mean, I did. I left McDonald's, and when I did, I immediately started. I bought a hotel, and I bought more real estate to have a real estate company, and we buy properties, hold them, sell some of them immediately, sell them after we've remodeled them in some cases, change the cash flow levels of the business so that the multiple
Value
works to my
improvement.
favor.
Yeah.
And keep some properties. But, I mean, there's not a day that people don't feel like giving up. There's not a year, a month. You're always reaching the point of exhaustion if you're really pushing it hard. And you think, I can't do this anymore. You can. It's just a matter of
Just
being
doing it.
tenacious about it and not thinking about it too much. My work today is not really work. And you can't have a job where you feel like it's work. And even back in the early days, I never felt like my jobs were really work. I felt like they were, an opportunity for me to meet people or wait on people or serve people. And I never really felt like they were that tough. I mean, I worked ungodly hours. If you talk to my ex-wife, she'd tell you I worked 60, 80, 90 hours a week, every week for 20 years. And I never thought about it other than I was trying to succeed. And I was afraid. They say the two big motivators in the world are the fear of failure and the desire to succeed. And I was so fearful I would fail. I wish I could say that I looked at it and said, I just have the desire to succeed. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I had the fear to fail. I could not fail. My mother said you'd never be anything, and I didn't want to let her be right. It stimulated me and motivated me to go out every day and work harder, show up early and stay late. People say, well, why are you successful? I show up early and I stay late. And that gives me the advantage. You said like there are a lot of dumb people out there that do better than geniuses. I was one of those dumb guys that just substituted smartness with tenaciousness, showing up early, staying late. I still do that today. I'm often still the first person in. I'm never the first person to leave, though. I'm never the last person to leave.
Yeah.
I'm always the first person to leave nowadays at my age, but I show up before anybody else is here.
How hard was it to, like, you have an excellent team here.
We do.
It's very easy for us. Like, Gilmar and I come by here quite a bit, and it's very easy for me to kind of look around and like I'm good at, pulling apart businesses in that way.
Yeah.
To see what their leadership's like. And it's really cool that, we partnered with you guys to do the happy hour events and variety of things that we're doing. And then, you let us do the podcast here. And I didn't really appreciate at that point what I do now here, and just watching everybody here kind of just taking care of this place, regardless of their position. It's really cool. Was that your active doing, or was that something that developed over time?
Well, first, I have a great GM. He's, like most people, we don't always see things the same way.
Yeah.
And I've had to bite my tongue a lot. But my GM has been with us for, I guess it's almost 8 years, which is unheard of in the industry.
And that's Drew.
Drew does a super job. He's got a tight connection with the people here. He's almost always upbeat, positive. He juggles a lot of things at once. Most people can't do that.
Yeah.
He has a keen understanding of giving people enough rope so that they can feel like they're kind of in charge of their own thing. yet stepping in when he needs to. So I think he is the major reason this business is doing all that it's doing. And I'm not trying to underestimate my contribution. My contribution is different.
You picked Drew.
I did, and I keep Drew. That's a conscious decision. And the reason I do is because all my life I've always looked at the business, and we could talk a lot about business, which I'd love to talk to you about. And I'd love to talk to you and to kind of do a commercial about 86 West.
Yeah.
You know, the place here in Doylestown that has a great staff and great food and a great nightlife and a magnificent outside bar. Not that I'm making a commercial or anything, but
We've done a few killer commercials.
I went through your stuff, and I did see one time.
One time we hit.
Whoa, we do it every time.
I guarantee you could even tell me when you did it.
We do it almost every episode.
But there was a time when you did it.
Was a good one.
Oh, it was spectacular.
We usually always.
I'm just going to give you a hint. It starts with L.
L.
Your guess started with L.
Lonnie.
Yes.
Yeah. We talked about the
You
burgers.
did it. You did the whole burgers, sushi, drinks. It was like a professional commercial.
We've done a bunch of those, and it's now a running joke in our circle how much I talk about your burgers.
Well,
Yeah.
People come up to me like,
you brought the Angus burger into play.
Yeah.
The sushi. You covered the whole gamut of things.
If you ever want to do like a real commercial, we'll do it and like give it to you.
You know.
That commercial was. I usually do the commercials.
I could just
here.
take that out of the thing, and
there might be. I don't know if I was speaking the King's English, but
no, you were very good. I've heard some of the times you weren't good.
Okay,
I've seen those.
Yeah, there's times.
And as part of that's being hip. You got the tattoos, you got the young looks,
you got the dog,
you got the dog. You got everything going for you.
Yeah, I do. I literally have everything going for me.
You do.
Yeah, the commercials are fun to do, because people sometimes ask me like, well, is it as good as you like throw into the podcast like you guys talk about on the podcast being good? I'm like, yeah, we wouldn't be like people that know me know I'm not good at I'm good at speaking the truth, and when we came and started recording here and we started eating here all the time, it makes it very easy to do those commercials.
Well, I want to finish up with the Drew part because, my son works here too. He's doing a great job of the staff. We have an amazing staff. So, Drew can only touch so much.
Yeah.
So he's got to have a bunch of deputies out there.
I've never had a bad server
doing what we need to do and what we're advocating we are. And we have so many amazing staff members. And I can't say this enough. I always tell people we're only as good as the worst player we have on the team.
Which is true. I wholeheartedly believe that.
Okay, so you only have to have, the public knows this. You only have to have one mistake or one bad experience and suddenly you're redefined. Mm-hmm. And we're constantly saying, we don't want people to define who we are. We want to define who we are.
Okay.
And our staff is amazing. And I don't say that just because, it's the right thing to say maybe. I say it because it's true. Now, we're not flawless. We don't do everything perfectly. And sometimes I'm a bit of a perfectionist. I'm a little bit of a hard ass. I say, I'm intense about things, and people know that here. And but when you boil it all down, one of my favorite stories, I have this in my book. There's two deer in the forest, and they're both eating grass in the forest, and suddenly they freeze. And one deer whispers to the other deer, "Hey, I think there's a mountain lion over there behind those stones, those large rocks." And the same deer says, "I don't think I can outrun a mountain lion." And the other deer looks at him and says, "I'm not worried about outrunning the mountain lion. I'm worried about outrunning you." So true it is in life. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be the fastest. We only have to be one step ahead. And in that instance, it's life or death. Life and death fairly materializes at work. You don't really have those situations at work. But
for most people,
we only have, yes, there are people that have that, and thank goodness they're working. And
yeah, thank goodness eating Kobe burgers at 86 West isn't a life or death experience.
I agree, but the point I'm making is that our people don't have to be perfect. All they have to do is be better than everybody else by one step. And that's kind of, I've transitioned from being perfect in my life, because I always wanted things perfect. You talked about that. You said, why can't you do it like I do it, or why can't you, it be intense enough to pursue it longer and faster and harder, right?
Yeah.
I transitioned from wanting to be perfect to wanting to be the best. And there's a big difference. You're never going to reach perfection. That's going to elude you your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
You're never going to be the best of the best of the best when you have this many people working. It's a big group. But you can be better than everybody else, and that's a worthy objective. And that's what we're trying to do. In Doylestown, we want to be.
That's really that's good. Instead of being perfect, strive to be the best.
Well, you can piss people off trying to be perfect.
You really will. You really will.
Whether it be customers or staff.
I think,
or especially if you're Drew, the manager. If I'm pushing perfection, and he's saying to himself, there's no way. Get off my ass. There's no way I could be perfect. And I was that kind of guy at one time in my life. I insisted on perfection. And you know how often I achieved it?
Never. Yeah.
So I will go for just being the best in Doylestown.
Yeah. I think you are the best.
I often say I want to be the best in Bucks County. And then when I really feel good about things, I say I want to be the best in Pennsylvania. But really, just being the best in Bucks County or the best in Doylestown would be quite an achievement. We have, without speaking, negatively about our competition, we have some good competition. We have some good business owners in Doylestown. We have good local leadership. We have
just on the street. You have competition.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so those guys are out there trying to be the best too. And I admire them for that. We're friends with most of the restaurateurs here, and most of the restaurant people are kind of a tight-knit group.
Yeah.
So, I think we are, and I don't want to offend my friends, in town, but I think we're getting to the point where we might have a step.
Not just because you're on here, I live quite close by, and this place is the best in Doylestown.
Don't make me cry.
Without a doubt, because my wife's a great cook, so it's like when we go out to eat, it has to be better than her cooking, or at least close to it. And then when we go out to eat, you have to go to the place that you're going to have a good time. You don't want to have a bad time. And 86 West makes it hard to leave Doylestown to go out to eat. We used to go to when we lived in Yardley, we used to go to New Hope. We'd come to Doylestown. We'd go to the city. We'd go to Yardley. But now that we live in town in Doylestown, where do you want to go to eat? I don't know. You want to go Logan? You want to go here? Let's just go to 86. Because it's consistently good. The staff is excellent to us. The atmosphere is great. So why risk it on some place that you only might get one night out to eat with each other a week? Like, why have a bad experience? Like, go with what is the best. And I think I've had every server here at this point. I know most of the bartenders at least, and it really is. You scared him. Ram, 9.
I'm sorry. We're having a podcast.
Down.
Next door is open.
Dude, he's scared.
Same venue. Great. Next door at 86 West. Thank you.
He never barks. He's
protecting
so
us.
scared.
He's protecting us.
I think he's scared.
No, he
I
is.
don't think he's protecting anything. But
so you're. Thank you.
And that's not just because you're here and I like you. You made it. The universe came together and letting us be here and doing the events here, and the events here are excellent. When we leave the event every month, we'll go downstairs and we usually have like a large group that eats with us. But we'll look over and there will be another group over there, and there will be another group over there. And next thing you know, you realize the whole event is getting dinner here, which is just it makes me feel good that we picked this place because you had a great location up here in the upstairs. It really worked for us. But it was the icing on the cake when we have a quality bartender here every month. And Alyssa, she's a rock star.
Yeah, she is.
We had, it's just, especially when you're in our position where you're putting an event on.
Hey,
it really matters. Like if somebody has a bad experience, like I take that personally, and I've never had that happen. And so it just every month I'm like, I know it's going to be great.
Well, I hope that's always the case. I was going to comment. Thank you for your compliments. I set the bar pretty high, so I'm often, when talking to guests, I recently, over the last year, I go up to 30 tables a day. Say, hey, I'm Tom. I'm the owner. Just want to check in with you, make sure you're good. And people stop me and say the things that you've said.
Yeah.
And, it's ridiculous. I mean, I'm thinking to myself, I know we're doing some things wrong, and I'm thinking, gosh, I hate to disappoint people. This is, again, that perfection. I want it to be something special, right? And people say to me, I can't believe how nice the people are here. The people are friendly. The people are good. They seem like they're pros. They seem like they enjoy working. And I'm thinking to myself, you're going to make me cry if you keep talking like this.
Well, the service industry in it, as with many industries, took a huge hit like post-pandemic or during the pandemic, where a lot of the really good servers and wait staff,
transitioned elsewhere,
left the industry because it was a hard time, and nobody's faulting them for that. And it's really hard now than even before the pandemic. You could have a bad experience if you went out.
Sure.
But now it's even more likely that you're going to go into a situation where like the wait staff's not trained properly, or maybe a place can't deal, like they don't have the kitchen support anymore. So it's really great that you guys, overcame.
You can tell
that.
there's a Phillies game.
Yeah, the Phillies are up.
Yeah.
They're up right now.
I knew you were keeping the score.
They're up. I can just tell.
Yeah.
So,
He's got
and you're right. It's changed. Everything's changed. And, we're lucky, although, we spend a lot of time with our staff telling them how good they are.
Yeah.
That's helpful. You're always moving towards what you think about most. If you tell people they're not good, they become not very good.
Yeah.
So we also, Doylestown people are very nice.
Yeah.
I have to. It's hard to find a town like this. Now you just moved in. I'm sure you're feeling this.
It's not. I've lived around a little bit, and it's very likely that I will continue to live in Doylestown for a very long time. It's going to be hard to leave Doylestown if I ever have to leave here.
Yeah, when we make a mistake, we don't try to. You talked about before people blaming their problem on somebody else, right? Nothing more common than somebody who's
a lack of accountability.
Something that they're not taking possession of the challenge, and when we screw up, and we will with you, sometime. I hope it's not true, but it'll eventually happen. If you come here often enough, you'll find a flaw. We'll have a weakness sometime, and I hope you'll give us a chance to fix it, because that's our willingness to fix things is at a very high level.
Well, you're in a business where you're creating food and making dishes and cooking. There is so much that can go wrong from the time the burger's pulled out of the refrigerator and put on the grill to taken out the table. There's so many opportunities for when things go wrong.
Yeah.
I tend to overlook most of that stuff because I know what a challenge it is to make it perfect every time. So if you say you bring my food out and you forget to give me silverware or something like that,
It can happen easily.
It's like, well, that the waiter or waitress she's doing 8 million things. Like maybe it's a Thursday night and she's the last one here, and there's you have to give them grace in order to have a great experience. You have to be a great customer.
You can't be like I used to be.
Yeah,
shooting for perfection. We'll never win anyone's vote if their objective is perfection. And neither will any of the three of us. No one will ever think we're perfect. And it's easy to measure people on perfection.
Yeah,
it's easy, and I don't measure people on perfection anymore. I found it lost me a lot of friends and lost me customers and lost relationships. It's not worth it. Perfection isn't all it's cracked up to be. How about just doing it really damn well?
Yeah.
So you appreciate when someone's trying their hardest, I guess.
Of course. I mean, this job can be so tough. I mean, think about it. Suddenly, I mean, we don't know when people are coming in. I mean, we have a sense about it, but, you know, if it's raining, it's supposed to be slow. Sometimes we get busy as hell. I mean, so all of a sudden you got this crowd, and you've got people that used to wait on this many people now are got to wait on this many people. So you have to have enough depth in your staff that they can stretch into a period that's busier than normal. And that is not easy. If you go into a Target or a Marshall's or a Walmart, you pick something off the shelf, you put it in your cart, and you go pay for it. Well, you're not picking it up off the cart. It's fully fabricated on the cart. Whatever you're buying is already there. It's the product. Well, we got to get a bun or a steak or potatoes.
Somebody had to order
we have
that.
to prep it first.
Yeah.
And then we have to prep it correctly and right, so we're not doing too much, not too little. And by the time you measure it all out, I mean, this is a manufacturing plant. We're manufacturing a product that's going to be delivered to the table that's coming in 20 different parts. Well, in Walmart, you just pick it up off the shelf and buy it. It's a little different. I'm not saying, you know, forgive us for all of our errors, because we should work hard to make sure we're making progress, to do our best work. That's what we tell our people. We don't want you to be perfect. We just want you to show up and be intending to do your best work. And that inspires people to stretch a little bit in the job, and when they do that, they're happy because they make people happy, and the unintended byproduct of that is someone may be very generous with them and give them a larger tip, and that encourages them to do more. Mm-hmm. So, you know, but this is not an easy job. I've done this since I was 16 years old, actually probably 15 years old. So, you know. And
they didn't have labor laws back then.
Well, they did. They just weren't, nobody followed them, right? So today, I mean, you know, if you do something wrong, you're in big trouble. But, you know, but the labor laws are put in place to be helpful. You know, I wish they would be a little more giving. If they're going to let all these people come to the United States undocumented, you should let them work. I mean, God, I mean, there's a whole group of restaurants that need more people. And lots of times, people that are coming to the country that never have done any work other than entry-level work, they want to work in a restaurant.
Yeah.
They can't. If we hire them, we're in trouble. I wish there was another way to do this.
I 100% agree with that. When people get hard on the whole border thing, I don't necessarily share the same, you know, opinions as the popular opinion, I guess. I think we need strong borders in the sense that, like, we should be strict about who we let through, yes, or keep track of who we let through. But I think the problem comes from not integrating those people quick enough into society. Yeah. I think there should be a faster way to take people from the border or from immigration and give them those opportunities and give them the support to be successful, rather than just having this, you know, black or white where it's like, we don't want anybody or we want everybody with no rules. Yeah. I think there's a happy medium where you keep everybody here that's safe doing well. But I know so many, I'm in the construction industry, so I've also worked in the food industry, and I know so many immigrants that are better Americans than Americans I know, like fourth, fifth generation Americans, where to me, when people are like, we need stronger borders, we need to keep everybody out, I go to them, I'm like, well, have you ever worked in construction or worked in the food industry? Like, I need more people right now. I need to be able to hire folks.
Yeah, I think that I am not for an open border.
No.
And I know this is not part of what we probably planned on getting into.
We can do it. This is your show.
It's not.
Send it.
Doing what I'm told. This is what I've learned.
Here's the script, Tom.
I've talked to some of your other people. They told me, do what he says. So
don't make him angry.
I don't think we should have an open border. I don't think anybody should be permitted to walk over the border and just come in and say, hi, I'm here.
You wouldn't just let somebody come into your house.
That's right.
You'd stop them at the door.
But I would have an immigration policy that encourages the people that we need to be a prosperous United States to get them in here. If you happen to need entry-level workers, then you should ought to go target those people and let them in and make an exception to try to get them here. If you need engineers, then you ought to try to target, and not necessarily from just Mexico. You ought to target China and India and so we can target those people to come in and help us build a better country. And of course, having diversity is a good thing. You know, it's a good thing when people can have diversity and live harmoniously together without difficulty. But I don't think the border should be the way it is. I mean, you see the same films I do.
Yeah.
People just rushing over the Rio Grande River and coming in, and
there's also
no one stopping them, and no one helping them once they arrive, except they put them up in hotels that cost too much, pay all their food, which costs too much. As soon as they come over the border, there ought to be a program that permits people to get a working visa or working papers. So if they're going to let them come over, you can't be supporting them.
Yeah.
They ought to be a contributing factor to our economy.
I think a lot of those folks wish it was that way.
I do too.
I do think there is a reason to be concerned with the amount of single military age males that are coming across the border right now. I think that's a bit concerning, and maybe a topic for another show.
Yeah.
But when you see a family coming across the border, or maybe, you know, a father that's getting ready to bring his family across the border, I think it would be stimulating. Everybody's like, well, where are we going to put all these people? What about the jobs? What about the money? Where's this? And I don't think any of those things are issues in reality. I think it would be better for our economy if you say, hey, you came through, you get interviewed, you know, what did you do when, you know, you're from Guatemala? Okay, what did you do there? Okay, you were a farmer. What do you want to do here? Okay, you want to do farming here? Cool. You're going to Alabama.
Yeah.
Or, you know, we'll sponsor you to go here. Or, hey, you have family in New Jersey. You know, what are you going to do when you get to New Jersey? Okay, so your family works at a farm. They already have a job lined up for you. You vet that out really quickly with a phone call. I think with the internet, and it's very easy to track people and things nowadays. And if somebody comes across the border and they're like, hey, I have a family, you know, they work on a farm in New Jersey somewhere. Okay, get that person up on the phone. Say, hey, do you know this person's coming? Yeah, we need someone, like pumpkin season's coming up. Yeah. You know, like, all right, cool, here they come. Like, and then maybe have, you know, people like yourself or business owners like myself that sponsor these people, where it's like, hey, I need someone like this, you know, with these talents. Like there's so much demand for labor and not enough people wanting to do it that live here domestically. Yeah. It almost would make sense that we kick a few of these people out. Yeah. And bring in people that actually want to make a difference. If
you're going to let people in, you have to have the infrastructure to promote that. I mean, you can't expect them to come in and live on the streets or live in a $500, $600 a night hotel. Yeah. Financed by the taxpayer.
But sometimes when I read into those situations, it's like, all right, we're going to let you stay in this hotel for a month, and then we're going to kick you out. You got to figure it out. And what are those people supposed to do when they don't speak English? They might not have family or people to rely on. You just give them a support for a period of time. Hope they find a job that can pay a rent in that period. It's just not realistic.
Hope they find a job. Yet at the same time, it's illegal to employ them.
Yeah, it's
so, you know. Yeah. Did I get you? I got you on that.
You okay?
Good.
Everything's fine.
So I mean, it's a lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah, don't die. We can't replace you.
Oh shit!
No, you're not replaceable.
There's nobody coming across the border that can do your job.
Yeah, that's good to know.
For sure. Or even here, and domestically, we don't have it. So it's not possible.
It's not possible. I appreciate that.
There is no more Gilmars left.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's a very unique and challenging situation for sure.
Yeah. We've covered it all.
Yeah.
Haven't we?
I think so.
Do we need to talk anymore about how great 86 West is?
We can definitely we can re-record the intro, and I'll send
you
it.
You gotta talk about that. I mean, the intro, you do a little snippet there in the beginning of every show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting like there'd be a big ass commercial. You know, like a.
Dude, we do. I would say more times than not, we've done a killer 86 West.
If it weren't for Lonnie, we wouldn't have done much. I mean, she stimulated you. She got something going on. You started feeling like I really owe these guys. Like they let me sit in the seat. You know, I've got to talk it up.
I think I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna edit every time we've talked about 86 West on the podcast, and we're gonna make like a 10-minute long video.
You're gonna do a show and you say, "Listen, he was wrong." Doop boop 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 boop. Right?
We'll record a new intro. You're not wrong. We'll record a new intro to the show, and we'll say how it's the re-recorded intro.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You record the entry, the beginning, like the first minute, and say,
And then just
and
put
then
it
you
in.
do the getting close to the food.
Yeah.
Right?
He's the
Show
guy.
that,
He's the guy.
Getting close to the girls on the front, the bartenders.
Yeah.
Show some of the flowers out there. You better hurry up. They're going away.
Yeah,
Do it up.
Do you guys do any sort of like content creation? I mean, you already are established, so you don't necessarily have to do that. But Gilmore is like the best like videographer, photographer around when it comes to food.
I did not know that. But have you ever gone on our website?
I have it. Yeah.
The Alex show. He does the whole walkthrough on all the stuff that's here. That, to me, that's even. We did that 3 years ago or so. To me, even today, that's still like the way it should be.
Yeah.
I mean, take a look at it. I think you it probably needs a little brushing up or cleaning up.
We
a
can
little
talk
bit,
about
but take a look at it. I think
Yeah.
it's still good.
He's a gun for hire. This guy has done more for exposing me to other customers or different things than, like, I don't know what my business would look like right now if it wasn't for Gilmore.
Oh, thanks. That means a lot.
God knows, man.
That means a lot. Thank
That's
you.
really. How do you get better than that?
I don't know. I guess do it for more
Maybe
people.
pay you more money or something. I don't know. Yeah, all right,
He gets
whatever.
paid plenty. Shut up. Wrong. This conversation's going in the wrong direction.
Hey, that's not.
You ought to give the person a raise. I said, well, you know what? You ought to tip them higher. Is that wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, tip them higher. That's a good idea.
So, is there anything here that we've missed? You said you research. And
I wanted to. When you say you owned, like, how many McDonald's did you own in the franchise world? Because somebody told me a number, and I was like, really?
My peak at one time was 21, but I've probably owned 50, because what I would do
Dang.
is I would buy them,
Yeah.
clean them up, hold them for a year, take their volume from $1.2 million to $1.8 million, sell them on a new multiple, kind of what you do on real estate.
Okay.
Sell them on a new multiple, sell the store. So over the years, I've bought and sold a lot of stores.
Huh.
But when I reached my peak, I was at 21, and I decided to sell.
Did you sell them all to one holding?
No, I took 2 years to sell them all.
Okay.
And my last 2 years, I celebrated my 50th anniversary, and I had just closed the last deal 2 days before.
Wow.
I sold 6 stores just before I had my 50th anniversary.
It's really inspiring. My wife's first job was McDonald's.
Which store?
Somewhere out in Scranton,
I
Nanaco,
didn't know those.
out in the sticks.
Yeah, Scranton's a cool little area, though.
Yeah, it's kind of weird out there.
It is weird.
It's weird. she got free. She broke free.
It's hard to get out of those towns out there.
But everybody looks. I mean, I grew up in like Newtown area, Bucks
I
County.
owned the Richboro store.
No way.
Used to, yeah.
That was our stomping grounds.
Went there.
Yeah.
Wow.
What was your order? Like, if you went to a McDonald's, what would you order as a McDonald's man? 50 years of McDonald's. What's your go-to?
You can be sure it was French fries involved.
Yeah,
of course.
You can be sure of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a high standard for McDonald's French fries? Like, if you go into a place, you're like,
I think every McDonald's franchisee tries to do great work. It's hard.
yeah.
Now, I think they've made a lot of progress recently. They've redone all their stores. Most of their stores have the new look. They've I think, increased the amount of employees they have in a store, although their business has become almost all drive-through.
They've doubled up on the drive-through with the double drive-through. I see a lot of them.
Yeah. So, I think that, I was with them a long time. I think McDonald's franchisees have the highest volume they've ever had.
Okay.
Wow.
Ever. And that's something, because they've, when I started with McDonald's in 1966, the average volume was probably $450,000. And the average volume today is probably $3.5 million.
That's insane.
Damn.
However, it's a funny thing called inflation.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, is that
Yeah.
inflated?
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. I started in 66. The only McDonald's that existed in 66 were red and white, old-fashioned, no breakfast, no drive-through. open at 11 o'clock and closing at 11 o'clock for the most part. And the average volume was in 66 was probably the store that I worked in. The average volume was probably $10,000 a week, so that's about $520,000 or $30,000 a year. But the hamburger when I joined was 15 cents, and the French fries were 12 cents, and the average drink price was a nickel.
Dang.
So you take that and inflate it over 40 years, and you got yourself a $3.5 million McDonald's. The difference is they used to do it in 66 out of a building that had no seating, no breakfast, and no drive-through. So McDonald's in 66 were doing more customers than they are today.
So the multiple was higher back then without adding in inflation. That's insane. So then there's no real science behind adding breakfast and things like that.
Well,
financially.
You might think that. However, think about how much they'd be doing if they've never done those things. Because they'd be doing less business.
Oh yeah, they totally before Starbucks, McDonald's owned the breakfast.
Yeah. McDonald's was doing 20% breakfast for years and years and years. 20% of $3 million is an awful lot of money. Ooh. $600,000 in breakfast sales.
That's a lot of flapjacks.
Drive-through business is over 50%. So if you're doing $3 million, $1.5 million is coming through the drive-through. So McDonald's is still a very good business. Over the years, though, McDonald's Corporation has figured out ways to take more and more of their bills and charge them to the franchisees.
Yeah, I guess my original point was like having grown up in like the Newtown area, McDonald's was not the job you wanted.
No.
And
it's still not the job you want.
Yeah, but it's really cool to sit down with someone like yourself. I mean, granted, the 60s was a different time than 2023.
Yes.
But it's great to hear, for me at least, it's great to hear stories of like the guy that was working on the back of a trash truck and now owns a trash truck company.
Yes.
Or the guy that, used to cut grass and now owns, a multi-million-dollar landscaping business. And I think that's what America, when people speak illy of America and, don't acknowledge the opportunities that we have here, it's mainly because they've never been out of the country. But where I am today and where I started is drastically different, as with Gilmar. Like where Gilmar grew up to now, it's so cool to me to be like, okay, so all you have to do is have an idea, put energy behind it, show up hard every day, and you can create one of the best restaurants in Bucks County because you started in McDonald's when you were 16 and just transitioned. Everybody thinks like, I'm going to go to college and then I'm going to come out with a great job and then I'm going to have kids and that's going to be it. I'm like, no, there's this huge middle area of your life that I don't think we talk enough about. And I worked in restaurants when I was in high school, but I worked in, family-owned restaurant. And all of my experiences that I have now are largely attributed to being behind a bar or in a restaurant that a lot of successful people in the area would come in to eat. It was a restaurant kind of like this. And I would ask these people, hey, what do you do? Where'd you start? I don't get this. And then I just realized one day, I'm like, I can do this. And it's really profound, and it has been a huge benefit to sit down with you and hear about like where you started and where you are now. And it's reaffirming to be like, all right, cool. Like I'm on the right path to, continue this great life that I have because like I've chosen to just work hard every day.
I think working hard is not in vogue. I think that, and what I mean by that is not that people don't work hard. I think doing entry-level jobs is not highly thought of in our society today. I don't know how many times as a young person, even back in the 60s and 70s, when I worked at McDonald's, people would say, I'd worked in a McDonald's and people would come in, my teachers or whatever would come in and say, hey, Tom, how are you? Hey, what are you doing nowadays? I'm working at McDonald's. I'm standing right here giving you a hamburger. I said, no, but what are you going to do full time? What are you going to do with yourself? Now, none of those could envision a life where you start out at an entry-level job is a teenager at 95 cents an hour and become the owner of a $50 million company. No one could see that.
Yeah. But did you see that? Or were you just like, you always had a goal and the goal just got bigger and the goalpost moved as you lived the life?
I think that success, when you have any level of success, I think it's a drug in a way.
Yeah.
You know, you get it. You like the way it feels. That makes you want to work harder to get some more. And I think as a young man, I learned so much. You know, I learned as a young man about break-even points. I learned as a young man about contribution margins. I learned it's all from McDonald's. I learned about how to pick a good real estate site. I learned how to build a good functioning, highly functioning restaurant. I understood P&L statements and profit and loss. I understood things that were outside my imagination. I never thought I'd know those things.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd put them to work. So the more you get, the hungrier you get for more. And that's been the way of my life. You know, I've gotten some success, and I wanted more. It tastes good. I like the way I feel when I'm succeeding. And it's an addiction. Success is an addiction. Hard work. You know, the secret to success is hard work.
Do you ever see yourself retiring in the traditional sense? Like just like hanging it up and just kind of, you know, hanging out on a beach or something like that?
My son would like that. You have to talk to my son about that.
Talk to us later. We'll get rid of him
Chris
for you.
about it. But, you know, I think I don't see me ever hanging it up. At some point in time, I see myself going and talking to people, just like we're doing today. Talk to them about reaching down inside themselves and being the best you, about how you can succeed even though you don't have a hope of success. You can become successful. There's a prescription for it. If you just follow some steps, try not to avoid steps that are hurtful because you need those. Mm-hmm. Don't avoid the hard things. They make you a better person. So I can see myself in the future retired from business, but being a person that goes out, and maybe somebody will think enough of me to call me out and say, can you come and talk to our group today? That's what I like to do.
Yeah, I could see you having a huge, I mean, I felt the impact today just sitting down with you. So I definitely think on a large scale, you have the opportunity to benefit a lot of people. I think it would be cool to kind of, when's your book come out? Because you could
sent a copy of it out today to a couple of people that are important to me to ask them to read it. I'm probably 75% finished. It's going to be good. I'm telling you, it's going to be good.
Yeah, that I would think that you could take the book and parlay that into, because that could be the foundation.
You're going to invite me back to talk about my book, right?
Yeah. I'm going to invite you back next week. You can show up anywhere. It's your restaurant.
You know, what would be cool is invite 4 or 5 people in.
Yeah.
And that have maybe they're different. Maybe probably being different is good. You get a bunch of guys together that own restaurants. I don't know how that'll turn out, but I think it could be good.
We can do up to how many people have we done at once? Like 6
people.
6 people.
Well, I would love to participate in something like that. I mean, that's really because you can kind of learn at the same time.
I would love. I mean, when I first met you, you gave me so much to think about just from that initial conversation that I kind of left. I called Gilmar and I was like, this conversation went way, like I told him what we talked about and how you imparted your wisdom on like using our events and the podcast as like a force for good. It changed a lot about how we do things. I would like to hear your thoughts or participate or be your, medium for some sort of like discussion group like that. Like if you yourself, maybe, I don't know if you're thinking other restaurant owners or other business people, if you wanted to get, or you have a group of people in mind that we could get together and debate something.
But I think it'd be cool for you because I see you're building this thing, and I went through and watched some of the things you've done, and they're really good. I think it wasn't what I was expecting. It's kind of laid back and Joe Roganish, It was like, the only thing you're not doing is smoking pot and smoking cigars and drinking, But we are drinking, so you're on your way.
What did you think it was going to be?
Well, I didn't know it was going to be so casual.
Yeah.
And to me, that makes it.
You thought it was going to be more. You were preparing for like this question. What do we ask?
Yeah,
and things like
I was ready for your question, and I was thinking to myself, well, I'm writing a book. For goodness sakes, I've considered most of those questions, so he couldn't ask me a question that I haven't thought about. And then I thought he probably can. So then I was a little scared, but I thought it would be more structured. I thought, which I think is good. I think if you have questions, it's always good to pop them in. And maybe it's something that's embarrassing. I think that sometimes that makes something like this work.
I usually have a group of questions in my mind to fall back on. But what ends up happening is, we sit down, we have chemistry, I get curious, and then we just end up 2 or plus hours later being like, what just happened? And I've found that I've listened to other people's podcasts that are very scripted. We have a friend who has a very scripted podcast. She asks the same questions on every show. And it yields a different product, and it's not me.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I want to know about you as an individual. And, I appreciate the kind words. I think a lot of times what hurts me the most is when people think we're after views and likes. People be like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're just trying to get other people's audiences and like capture their audience. And I'm always like, oh, no, like maybe you didn't see the show. It's really, the show is kind of like my and now Gilmar's selfish pursuit of information. And we know so many people now from sitting down with them on the show and just being like, why do you do this? What would you do this? Like, what got you here? And then we leave and Gilmar and I have this little debrief after. We're like, whoa. That we just learned so much. And then tomorrow I wake up, I'm like still feeling like energized from it. So it's really about the individual and creating the relationships in real life rather than it is like people benefit from listening to the show. And I love that.
Yeah.
But it really is leaving here today being like, I now have a friend named Tom who has this wealth of knowledge that I can call upon, and hopefully the same if you need something.
Yeah.
But I have a friend at the end of the day rather than just like someone's views.
The thing that I enjoyed watching the podcast before you quit, I think when you came up, I was watching the podcast, and the thing that I enjoyed is that I think you're kind of Howard Stern. I don't know. Some people don't like him. Some people like him.
Yeah, he's a good show.
But he has a sidekick that makes the show more entertaining than it would be if it were just him.
Yeah,
and to me, that's what you've done. You have a sidekick that makes the show more entertaining than it would be if
up top.
If you didn't have it. And to me, that really makes it. And I think the collegial way you guys interact is at a high level, and I think that makes the show. It makes you likable. Suddenly, you're not just doing something. People actually like you, which is always a plus. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I was going to say, and I hope I didn't forget it, about the show, is the concept of being a force for good. It's a good concept, but your show itself can be a force for good. I mean, I don't think some of the people you talk to are very educational to listen to.
Oh yeah, it's insane. It's been such a benefit to learn from so many of these people. Mm-hmm. They've affected our businesses. They've affected how I've lived my life. I've changed how I do things from talking to some of these people for the better. And I don't know how to show appreciation to some of these folks sometimes.
Yeah, they do. They leave something, and I think that I noticed you have a vignette of you have a lot of different people you've talked to.
Yeah, the website we still need to build out the past episodes. We're still working backwards and getting those they're published and they're on YouTube and they're on the the podcast platforms, but we created the website to kind of bring all of that together and pay homage to everybody as individuals and try and, give a one-stop shop kind of place.
Yeah, and about being a force for good, I think from my standpoint, I tried to, in my lifetime, develop these quotes to create a platform for good. First, for good with me. I need to be better every day. But my favorite quote of all is, and I think anybody that listens to this may benefit from this. I hope they do, because it means a lot to me. Your rewards in life will always be in direct proportion to your service. I think you guys are doing a good service.
I appreciate that. Yeah.
It's very nice.
Yeah, the Gilmar used to be like off camera, and sometimes we would hear from him, and I would always try and be like, dude, we got to get you on camera too, because it was so uncomfortable for me to be like the guy.
Yeah.
Like I didn't want to be the guy. I wanted the podcast, but I wanted it to be like just not, I didn't want the spotlight on me necessarily. And then when we moved here, it changed up how we used to have like a computer setup and Gilmar and all the cameras, and then Gilmar would run all that stuff, and then he'd be like over there, and sometimes we would talk to him and different things like that. And then when we came here, it was like, I'm like, Gilmar, you're now on the show.
Many hands.
You have no choice.
Yeah.
Many hands make light work.
Yeah,
It's true. And I think the way you guys laugh it up, to be honest with you, that makes the whole thing nice. I think the more you laugh it up, the better it is. And I think that's one of the things that Joe Rogan has going for him that's so successful, and Howard Stern has going for him. And you're in the same business. You're at a different level than those guys are at. But that's where you want to be, I'm sure. And that works. If you don't have that, it's something you're missing the thing that makes people tune in.
Yeah, it would be, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't like
fantasize.
Not fantasize, but like now that we've been doing this a while, I'm like, wow, it would be, and we've talked about it briefly a couple of times where I'm like, it would be really cool if we could just travel around just doing this and just talking to people all the time. And I'm hoping that happens. Like if we just keep doing what we're doing, that, maybe that happens eventually, but we're struggling right now figuring out like how to get to the next thing. That's why we started doing the events here, because we had this crazy email list and like all the guests and all the people that listen. It just made sense to throw an event every month and try and bring more people together. But what the next step is for this, I've been struggling with like, what do we do next? We just keep doing a good job doing this, I guess. So
Good work, I think.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
But I think we're gonna close it out there.
Yeah, sounds good.
Tom Frank,
Yeah.
No Prisoners Podcast. Do you have anything else to say besides about the Kobe burger being so great?
I want to talk about sushi.
The sushi's really
Thank
great
you.
too. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Black
appreciate
and
the
Burgers.
conversation. It was so great.
Appreciate everything.
Thank you.
So this we'll re-record the intro.
Yeah.
We're gonna have
Just
to
do the Lonnie. Let Lonnie take it over. With the whole thing,
This is the No Prisoners Podcast with Tom Frank, owner of 86 West, myself and Gilmar, and Rambo was heard on this episode for first time ever. We appreciate everyone that listened to this. Please stop by the restaurant. Tom's here most evenings. I come by, he's here. Talk to him, talk to Drew. All the wait staff here is amazing. So, and if you want to come out to our event on October 25th, doing it for the dogs, we really appreciate everybody that listens to this show, and thank you for listening.